I'm not talking about the hearsay of who saw what on the microscope. I'm talking about the document that is before court, which has been presented as the evidence. Let's move on for the sake of progress, Colonel. You can bring back my water pass. Colonel, I just want to take you now through the integrity of receiving and handling the exhibits at the Ballistic. Okay? There is a procedure of receiving the exhibits at the Ballistic. Am I correct?
That's correct.
And in this case, that procedure of submitting and receiving the exhibits was not followed. Maybe let me clarify when I'm referring to the exhibits. I'm referring to the exhibit in issue, in this case, in respect of paragraph 9 of your report. We can let we don't confuse the exhibits. The exhibits referred to in paragraph 7 and examined in paragraph 8 was not accepted, was not received by the South African Ballistic Laboratory in terms of the procedure that is set out in the laboratory.
My Lord, it was received properly. If I signed for it at the SAP 13, that's the procedure that must be followed. And I brought it to the lab for analysis.
The procedure, Colonel, for the handling of the exhibits from the station, the exhibit will be booked out by the respective individual who is sending the exhibit to the Ballistic unit. Am I correct? And sent to the Ballistic.
My Lord, the exhibit will be booked out at the SAP 13 by a police officer who will sign the SAP 13 and submit a copy of his appointment certificate and bring the exhibit to the lab.
To the lab, yes. That's where we are. And that did not happen in this case.
My Lord, the advocate is talking over me most of the time and I have to complain.
My apologies, ma'am.
So, Mr. Mshololo, are you saying this firearm was never in the lab? The one which was retrieved at Cleveland? It was never in the laboratory?
No, my Lord,
What are you saying?
What I'm saying to the witness is that the procedure of handling the exhibits, in this case, it was not followed in respect of paragraph 9, exhibits in paragraph 9.
Was it not followed?
Because it was not sent to the Ballistic, but it was booked out by the expert who was going to do the same examination.
Where?
In the lab.
Ballistic?
In the Ballistic, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I thought it was sent somewhere else.
My Lord, the procedure was followed, as I said, the procedure of booking out the firearm, SAP 13, must be a police officer, signed in the SAP 13, and hand a copy of his appointment certificate.
And after that has been done, that exhibit will then be allocated to an, is it an expert or analyst? To an analyst, ballistic analyst. Am I correct? The exhibit who is sitting there at the Ballistic, or he's working at the Ballistic.
No.
The case was already allocated to me. I was working on the case. So I have the right to go and fetch the firearm. If I'm not happy with the test that I have the right to go and book it out of the SAP 13, come and shoot additional tests if I want to shoot additional tests.
One thing about the SENZO trial, it is heavily infested with main character syndrome personalities. It is a serious disorder in that courtroom. You know what? No, it is not a disorder. It is a pandemic. Oh my goodness. You know, who else assigned themselves a case and is currently no longer a judge? Or should I say, has been suspended and we're still waiting for that trial to complete? You already know the former judge in the SENZO trial, Judge Maumela. What did he do? Why am I linking him with CHRIS Mangena? Well, of course, he was removed from the SENZO trial for misconduct and incompetence, but mainly, listen to this, because he allocated the Mayua trial to himself. You see what I mean? You see what I mean? He was never supposed to hear the trial. And he was also prone to being incompetent. Now, makes me think of Judge Rata. If ever, okay, allegedly things go south for him, I don't think he will ever accept his name being associated with incompetence, because he can't even accept anyone saying he is not listening in court. This will be a power struggle for him. But let's go back to Umangena. Oh my goodness, a main character syndrome right there. And he says, I had every right to go to Cleveland. I followed the procedure. I examined that gun. Yeah, it was a couple of years ago. I mean, I examined that exhibit from the Spaza house. Yes, in 2014. But 2014, let's count together, guys. 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019. And voila, in 2020, Mr. Main Character Syndrome went ahead, okay, and went to the Cleveland police station himself and booked the exhibit out and drove it back to the South African Ballistics and Dundonny lab, where we find out, okay, it's one of two, and they're very, very busy. I shared the video previously yesterday that they are very, very busy over there. Okay, they are overwhelmed. They have a lot of cases and they have a lot of work to do, and there's not too many analysts or ballistics experts that know what they're doing. So they are the men for the job, okay? So how does he have time to take a drive down to Cleveland police station? Now, let me ask you this. Do you remember when Dave Umlungu okay, was assigned to go and do the testings, okay? And Umlungu said, no, hold the line. Do not give me the gun. You, Mangena and Kininda will bring it to me on Monday at my private lab. I'm not going to leave this courtroom with it. And you know what? At that time, what did we know about ballistics and Dondonies? But now I see that was a brilliant move from Mr. Ballistic expert Umlungu, because he was going to be then accused of what? Switching around the firearms, of changing things around. A lot of things stories were going to be built, and it was going to be said that he was cooking the evidence for the 5 accused. But a brilliant move from Kilungu, a brilliant move, refusing to carry the gun yourself. But we know Mangena is the man that he thinks he is. He will carry that ballistic exhibit all by himself, and no one will tell him what to do. And not only will he carry it all by himself, he will keep it in a safe in his lab for eternity. But let's continue listening on, because of course it gets worse.
I don't have a problem with that. I don't have your powers of bending all the rules. I don't have a problem with that. I'm just taking you step by step to say the exhibit, once it has been received by the laboratory, it will be then allocated to a specialist.
Not be allocated to somebody else. If I'm handling the case, it must be examined by myself. If I'm busy with the case and I see that I need more additional tests to be fired, I have the right to go sign, book it out to the SENZO and come and proceed with my analysis. If the firearm was with the owner or was with a private company or something, I would ask the IO to go fetch it so that we can shoot additional tests.
There is no procedure allowing you to do that.
Allowing me to do what?
What you did, what you are telling the court now, to say because it was allocated to you, so you had the right to go and book out the exhibit.
I have the right to do that. That is the procedure.
And the procedure is that all the exhibits that are submitted at the lab, they must go through the administration system. Am I correct?
No, Marot, you are not correct.
Okay. What's the procedure? What's the procedure of the administration system at the lab when they are receiving the exhibits?
If the case is to be registered at the lab, a new case where it's new exhibits are to be registered, they will follow that procedure. But in some instances, they don't. Like if you're receiving firearms for IB's testing, they are not registered at case reception. They come straight into the lab, 2 IVs, and shoot the test, and then they go back.
And do you agree with me, Colonel, that in this case, this exhibit was not registered through the administration system?
I didn't have to register it because I went to fetch it and I was busy working on it.
And if this exhibit had been processed through the administration system, would have the proof of the dates on which this exhibit was received at the ballistic laboratory.
Well, the proof is there that I have signed for it at the SAP 13 at the station, and in my report, I've mentioned the date that I have worked on, of which is the same day.
But there's no proof in the administration system at the ballistic confirming what you are telling this court.
As I have also already started with the testing of the, comparing the test of this same firearm with my exhibits. So for me to have the firearm re-examined for additional tests, there's no procedure that I must wait for somebody to go fetch it. I can go sign for it, come with it, shoot the test with it for further investigations.
Okay. For how long did you keep this exhibit before doing the examination?
How long did I keep it before I?
Before you conducted the examination referred to in paragraph 9.
I went to fetch it at the station. When I came back with it, I shot the test immediately.
And after that, what did you do with the file?
Shooting the test, it was in my safe.
It was in your safe. So the ballistic was never aware that there is such an exhibit that has been received in the ballistic. It was booked by yourself from the station, not entered in the administration system, kept by yourself in your private safe.
That's it, Mshololo. Oh my God, what enganegwane, and well summarized by Queen Mshololo, okay? Advocate Mshololo puts to the record that, wait a damn minute. Mr. CHRIS MANGENA, main character here. So, you have every right, because you don't follow any procedures, you have every right to go over there to the SAP 13, collect the firearm, bring it back, because you've worked on it before, six whole years before. So no one is going to question you if you suddenly have it again, and then you sneak it into the lab, and nobody at the lab knows you have it, and then you run your test, and then you have your 10 tests over the 8 tests, and then you have your 8 tests, and then once you're done with the test, you collect, and then you look for the strias, but you don't find the strias on all your tests, and then you only find it on test bullet number 5 and number 9. But you know what? We've covered that before. But let's keep going with this nganegwane, okay? And then once you're done, you put it in your safe, so nobody knows it's there. So let me ask you this, Mr. CHRIS MANGENA, what would have happened if you had died? What would have happened if you had died? Who was going to trace this whole system, this personalized system that you've got going on? But wait, before we answer that one, here's another question for you. Utini ma nemkuza. Utini.
Not in my private safe, in the labs, in my exhibit safe.
What's the difference? Because it was not booked in the administration system. It was not that no one at the lab could have access to that firearm, to that exhibit. It was in your possession at all material times.
If I sign for the exhibits, weapon those exhibits, no one have access to those exhibits. They will be in my exhibit safe.
Is that what you do in the handling of all other exhibits? You keep them with yourself?
All other exhibits, meaning if I receive a case, work on the case,
yes,
after completing the case, I'll hand it over to the safe because I have received from the same safe.
Colonel, I put it to you that the integrity of these exhibits, the manner in which it was recovered, handled, received by the ballistic, leaves much to be desired. And
I do not agree on that.
Never, because you were bending the rules.
No rules were broken then.
No problem. I'll leave that one for argument, Colonel. Colonel, let me understand. Are you an analyst or an expert.
No. Someone take out the batteries from Mshololo. Why is she doing this? This is the Oscar Pistorius ballistic expert. Okay, he's famously known as an expert. What are you doing, Mshololo?
That I don't ask you unnecessary questions.
My lord, I'm an analyst.
Analyst.
It depends on the court to say I'm an expert or but I'm an analyst, forensic ballistics analyst.
Thank you for being honest with your credentials. Even if you are an analyst, but I know that you have a knowledge of the crime scene, how the crime scene should be conducted, how the crime scene should be secured, you know that process at the crime scene.
That is correct, my lord.
Colonel, we are sitting with the exhibit here that was recovered from the crime scene, which was not cordoned off properly by the police to such an extent that there are members of the public and members of the SAPS who had access to the crime scene in this case. So what I want to ask from you, Colonel,
I'm sorry to be rude to counsel, but if one looks at the photo album of Musia, the scene was cordoned off. It's Exhibit C. The proposition that the scene was not properly cordoned off is therefore not correct. If we look at Exhibit C, photo 1, 2, there's a cordon, clearly a cordon there, my lord.
Colonel, my question to you is, can you tell us what is the importance of cordoning off the crime scene, and also what is the importance of guarding the crime scene by the police, by the members of the SAPS?
My lord, the reason for cordoning the crime scene is to guard the crime scene or to prevent movement into your crime scene. And guarding the scene is to ensure that the people don't just enter the crime scene without any reasons.
Yes, in order to prevent what?
To preserve your crime scene.
And to preserve the exhibits. Am I correct?
That's correct.
And to ensure that there is no tampering, there is no movement, there is no tampering of the crime scene. I think you understand the word that I'm using.
That is correct. It's just to reduce the movement on your crime scene, not completely to stop movement in the crime scene.
But then what do you say if the crime scene had been cordoned off already as it has been depicted on the screen, but also you find people that they were able to access the crime scene?
I have always had issues with this. I've always said that the crime scene was contaminated because the Spaza people housed people, the Komalos, they went to the hospital, they came back, they slept in the crime scene. And then, CHRIS Mangena came the next day to do his ballistics in Tontoni. Hello. So from the midnight, they came back at midnight, all the way until 11 a.m. when Mangena came. These people had access to the crime scene. Yes, Messiah says he put them in one room. So are you telling me they didn't go anywhere else? Are you telling me they didn't collude? Are you telling me there wasn't a ngondo in there? I've always said that crime scene was contaminated, therefore not fair to the 5 accused.
But it will depend on who's in charge of the scene.
In charge of the
That is
scene.
happening in the crime scene.
What is surprising, Colonel, the reason why I'm taking you through this, although it's the evidence that took place before you arrived, it's that on the crime scene where this exhibit mentioned in paragraph 9 in your report, when Sergeant Mosia from the LCRC Springs arrived at the crime scene, he inspected the crime scene. He did not find the bullet on top of the cupboard, and he left the crime scene. There is evidence that there are people who accessed the crime scene, including members of the SAPS, and only on the following day that this exhibit was recovered on top of the cupboard. which raises some concern.
I don't know whether it's correct to say that Constable Musia did not find the bullet. You know, he said he realized that the scene is of such a magnitude that he needs help, and that he then summoned the necessary help.
Can I rephrase, my lord? The exhibit was not recovered at the first time when the first police attended the crime scene. I was singling out Sergeant Musia because it's the one from the LCRC. That bullet was not recovered when the first police entered the crime scene and inspected the exhibit. It was not recovered, but it was only recovered on the following day, after the scene had been accessed by members of the public and the police officers.
My lord, it happens in some occasions that when you go to a crime scene, you inspect the crime scene, as Lucia said, you inspected the crime scene, and you don't see all the exhibits. The next day, maybe when you start processing your crime scene, you'll see a lot of exhibits which you missed the previous day.
And then, thank you, Colonel. Another aspect that I wanted to cover, I was dealing with the integrity of these two exhibits and the circumstances under which they were recovered, which raises doubts whether they were real exhibits, especially the one recovered from on top of the carpet, which was recovered on the following day. And also the firearm that was received in an open seal bag and not processed throughout the ballistic system. Okay, do you get my point?
My lord, I don't see anything wrong in both two instances.
Okay. Lastly, Colonel, what I want to clarify from you as a specialist, is it a duty of the specialist or it's a duty of any member of the South African Police Service to go and take measurements from the suspects?
My lord, it depends on what examination or investigations you are doing. If you only need the height of the person or anything, any member from the LCRC who can take measurements can do that.
Okay.
In cases where it's ballistic related, you need an analyst or specialist to do the measurements, not just an event.
Can you unpack it for me? How is it ballistically related, taking the measurements from the accused person?
My lord, in instances where we have bullet trajectory, want to determine the height of a person, can the person of this height be able to shoot in this position? Then we need to have the measurements of the persons. The measurement will be related to the bullet trajectory that was recovered at the scene.
How can you be able to determine that when you do not know the position of the person who was firing shot?
My lord, you look at the position of your entrance bullet wound, the height of the bullet, it will give you the correct trajectory. And you know how this person was standing.
And then how will then assist the findings? Your findings now, how will that information assist the findings in the findings now?
Manje uma usuthole lolo lwazi lingakusiza kanjani ke ekutheni uthole lo mphumela wakho?
When we are examining now the exhibits.
My lord, it assists me in doing a crime scene reconstruction. When you do an incident reconstruction, if a person has been shot, you need to be able to place the deceased in the crime scene, the position where he was and how he was standing. So it helps a lot when you do that.
I also put it to you with the due respect that taking measurements from the accused persons is solely the duty of any general member of the SAPS, and you were not supposed to go and conduct that part of the investigation.
If I had to determine the position of the shooter, not looking at the height of the shooter, I won't be able to do that. And if anybody can do that, the measurements and send them to me, I won't use them. I want to do my own measurements so that I can link that to my investigation or to my trajectory.
And I put it to you, Colonel, that when you were doing the examination in paragraph 9, you were no longer objective after having done. So that investigation, which you were not supposed to do, you had an added interest. And that is why after receiving the first negative results in paragraph 6, you did not stop. You ended up by going to the police station and book out another exhibit to come and force the results that you came in conclusion in this report.
My Lord, I was objective in this matter from the beginning until the end.
But the fact speaks for itself. Thank you, my Lord. I have no further questions.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how it ended between Mshololo and Mangena. Mangena walked into that courtroom last year as an expert, returned as an expert, went through Baloyi and went through Mgomezulu, Ramsipili, Ngumalo, Mnisi, and arrived at the bus stop called Advocate Mshololo, Queen Mbogodo, where she reduced him from an expert all the way down to an analyst. Now, one thing about Mshololo, she does not play, and she is, the advocate of note for accused number 5, Fisoguhle Ntuli, And Fisoguhle Ntuli, if you've seen throughout when the cameraman shows him, he's a very, very satisfied client, He's a very satisfied client of the legal aid department that is paying for Mshololo because, oh my God, she is not here to play. And I love everything that she did, took Mangena through all his nonsense, his gibberish, as she calls it. When you were doing the examinations in 9, you were no longer objective. And I agree with that. I absolutely agree with that. And you now had an added interest. Now you needed the results to match your interest, or whatever the rumors or the nganegwanes or whoever it is that was nagging you to finish up this investigation. We'll never know, but it is alleged Mangena is the ngondo because he's the one who can bring the numbers to close the case. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. From there, we see the judge descend into the arena. So you know what? I'm not going to keep this in this video. From descending into the arena, we then go into Baloyi, a state prosecutor, who then tries to save the state case. It is definitely still a developing story. I'm going to do those, of course, in a separate video. So make sure you stay close by with your notifications on. Turn those notifications on. If you've made it this far in the video, you absolutely know you have my heart. Thank you so much. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. If you're watching from outside the club, please consider subscribing because I know about 65% of you are watching my videos and are not subscribed. Imagine that. There are more people not subscribed watching my videos. That really hurts, because should the 65% subscribe, we will be easily at 100,000. So please take that into consideration. That is my little ask of you. I'm not asking for much else. Just hit that subscribe button, do the like, the comment, the share, and I will definitely catch you on my next upload. And of course, thank you so much for all your support. I'll catch you on the next upload.